I just put the finishing touches on a Rising Leader 2-day workshop that I'm giving to a leadership team in California tomorrow morning. So I'm about to get on a plane, realized I did not do my solo podcast, and today is the deadline for me to upload it for the production team. When I started thinking about what the topic was going to be for today, I went through the workshop that I'm actually about to lead. And I noticed, like we're doing a lot of nuts and bolts leadership training. This is kind of the ABCs of delegation, of how do you keep track of projects and how do you keep them on track? How do you do performance improvement plans? How do you give feedback? So we're going to be having all those conversations about the nuts and bolts about leadership. What I'm really excited about, what I really get excited about are the parts of the workshop and the parts of my book and the parts of my videos and everything that I talk about that's more about who do you need to be a leader. For me, the nuts and bolts and the mechanics of leadership, uh, I steal from Pat Lencioni. I had Cameron Harold on my podcast. Amazing, at teaching leadership teams, the nuts and bolts of keeping track of their business. Dave Klein was on the podcast, and I've never seen anybody better than putting out bullet points and memes on, just kind of little tidbits about how to do leadership. But for me, it's who do I need to be a leader? Because that was my journey. The nuts and bolts came easy to me. It's the can I be that person to carry out those nuts and bolts? Can I be the kind of person to have the conversations that I need to have? And that's what I teach my clients. Most of my clients are wicked smart, stupid smart. A few tips and a few tools, and they know what they're doing. What they need to do is they need to elevate themselves to a leadership bearing. And I think we overcomplicate that. I think there's so many leadership books. I think that we overcomplicate it and we scare ourselves. So a couple of things that I know that we need to know about stepping into leadership is, one, it's no longer about us, right? It's no longer about us. It's all about the team. It's all about getting to the results that are our responsibility for the organization through the people who work for us. Conversation after conversation after conversation. I just had a conversation with a leader yesterday who was talking about the fact that everything's running on all cylinders, and he's a little bored because he was just elevated to CEO of his company, and he's used to doing a lot, and now he is overseeing, directing, coaching, and it's leaving him free time to now think about the strategic vision and direction of the company and each of the departments. So, but he's like a little panicky because he's not doing a lot. So we had the conversation about the fact that his job, his problem is he's good at his job. He's a really good leader. He's very inspiring. He's a very good coach. And that should be his satisfaction. So getting our satisfaction from a different place, from our own achievements to other people's achievements, and have them have the glory when your team is reaching the goals, it does reflect on you. The other thing is, you have to get rid of that victim mentality. The conversations where you're saying things like, why is this happening? This isn't fair. They're doing this. I fought for you. Those conversations have to stop, and the buck stops with you. 100% responsibility. If you're the leader, it's you, and that's really hard to do, because human nature is we want to put blame in the right place. Human nature is we don't want to take the responsibility for something that isn't our fault. And explaining the difference between our fault and our responsibility is a conversation I have every day. Just because something happened isn't your fault. It was someone else's fault, but it's your responsibility, one, for the results, two, to make sure that it gets cleaned up. So that other piece is, showing up in that way. And then the next piece is, you have to learn to be ridiculously candid. I'm going to be teaching how to give feedback in this workshop. And we're going to do, what's working well and even better if. And we're going to talk about the shit sandwich, right? You're great. This can improve. You're great. But it's always a shit sandwich. So since we know it's going to be a shit sandwich, we need to grow up and just kind of, instead of saying feedback as if it's, just the most dire thing in the world. It needs to just be a matter of fact conversation. The paint is blue. This project didn't go the way we wanted to go. This is the way it needed to go. What do we need to do to improve it? And the more you can get comfortable with and less self-conscious and worrying about hurting people's feelings, the better you're going to be. So stepping up into becoming a different kind of person for me is the most important thing about leadership. If you can get grounded, centered, I've said this over and over again, if you can get grounded and centered, deal with your own fears, deal with your own insecurities, learn to be ridiculously honest, learn to flex your style. Again, in this workshop, we're going to do Enneagram, we're going to do personality types to teach how to talk, so how to communicate so that you're effective. I want you to communicate uh, effectively on one level, but you can't communicate effectively if you don't know how the other person receives information. What are their triggers? What are their fears? What are their motivations? If you don't learn that about a person, you can't you can't up your chances of accuracy. So getting really interested in who it is that you're working with and who you are getting results with, who you are cooperating with, all essential. So for me, this podcast and my writing is going to be much more about who you need to be, who I need to be, who we all need to be as leaders. And if we step up and if we find that bearing, we can change not only our organizations, not only our families, but we can change the world. And that's the mission. My friends, I love you a ton. Have a great rest of the day.